right, everybody. Hello, welcome to Level Up with Jeanne Marie, a podcast that is talking about raising your spirituality, raising your vibration to higher levels of consciousness, however that may look. And today I'm joined by my lovely good friend and colleague, Nigel. Nigel Patterson has been a friend of mine for, gosh, Nigel, I think it's like 8-9 years. We met, yeah, something like that in San Francisco. And since then, we've worked together on a couple of things. He's come to Kauai and we did some fun projects and helped you promote your book. And I will let you do the rest of the intro, Nigel. Why don't you just tell everyone about yourself?
Well, we actually met 12 years ago. I'm thinking
Oh my
that.
God, 12.
Can you believe it?
That's
So it would have been in 2013, I think we met.
wow.
Yeah, in San Francisco.
Yeah.
So hi, everyone, and thank you, Jeanne Marie, for the invitation to be here. It's lovely to see you again after all this time. And you say we met in Hawaii. I was on the Big Island at the time. Having traveled there, a circuitous route around the world from Tanzania, then South Africa, then Australia, then San Francisco, then Miami, and then Hawaii, living different places, and now living in Mexico. We've been here for the last, 3.5, coming up for 4 years almost. And just enjoying life and allowing life to take us where we're meant to go. And I think that's part of the great adventure at the moment and how technology has enabled that. And we can just follow, just go. Yeah. So my background, by the way, is of engineering. So I have an engineering background, electrical engineering, going back many years ago. And then executive director of a large corporation. And then decided that was enough of that. Then had my own internet company, eventually sold that. And then in 2008, I can't remember how many years ago that is, got involved in transpersonal counseling, but then that allowed me to incorporate all the stuff I'd been doing on the woo-woo side of life for the previous 10 years. So I've been on the, let's call it the woo-woo path for about 35 years now, and loving it, because that's where meaning seems to be found, not in behind corporate desks.
You could probably relate to a lot of people that are feeling very similar. There's a lot of people that I've encountered over the years. And it's funny in the spiritual realm too, that have started in engineering or some kind of more technical background and then realized this isn't where it's at. And then they awaken into some spiritual realm that is more gratifying for them.
What I really enjoy is that the technical background gives very good discipline in problem solving and logical thinking. So it does, for me, it grounded me very much in those areas. So when the journey into the spiritual or who we really are started, I wasn't completely adrift. I had, good grounding, and therefore asking the hard questions. Why, what, prove it. Where's the proof? Show me this. Don't just take it for granted. And as far as I'm concerned, our guides and teachers and healers in spirit, they have to do the work as well. They have to deliver. They have to let us know they're here. We just don't take it for granted. We can't just have this concept. Oh, well, my guides are here. Okay, well, who are your guides? Prove, show me why you're here. Don't just expect me to believe that. So I think my skepticism through my technical background helped a lot.
Yes, yes.
So, yeah.
Well, I find that anyone on their spiritual path, once they start asking the questions, that's the path, right? So ask questions, and spirit will show you one way or another.
So on that, I'm curious to know how your relationship in the Dolphin community developed. That is where that connection for you comes in, and the water and the dolphin and the crustaceans, things like that.
Well, I have many stories of how that happened.
Mhm.
Um, but one of the biggest ones was probably the near-death experience that I had, where I was in the water swimming with dolphins
Mhm.
and doing what I love and following them. And I'm a pretty good swimmer. I swam for a long time, and we were out on the boat in the middle of the ocean. This was on the Big Island. And I started going further and further out to sea.
Mm.
And because I had this connection with the dolphins, have you ever swam with the dolphins, Nigel?
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
So have you ever felt like this vortex of energy that surrounds them, that kind of you're in this alternate state of consciousness with the dolphins and
You know,
oh,
I find people are more plugged in with that than I am.
mhm,
I have other areas which draw me more, but I absolutely recognize and honor that a lot of people are drawn to the dolphins. And having facilitated the whole Hawaiian Dolphin Initiative on the Big Island a few years ago, I understand how important that is to many, many people, and that connection is very real. It's not a made up connection. It's absolutely real. It's absolutely present, and it's absolutely important. I got that.
yes. Well, when I was swimming with the dolphins, and maybe, it's because the dolphins just opened my heart. And
Mm.
I was in such joy and such bliss that I was in this alternate state. And I felt like this pull and connection to them. And like I felt like one of the pod, like I
Mm.
was swimming with them. And somehow I was able to keep up with them. Dolphins swim a lot faster than humans, but somehow either, whatever, I was with them swimming along. And what happened was my mind came in and I started worrying because I was realizing that I am traveling farther and farther out to sea. We're in the middle of the ocean where I couldn't even see the shore. And
Mm.
the boat, I was getting farther and farther away from the boat. But I know from swimming with the dolphins in the past that when you break that connection with the dolphins, they're gone. They're like, that's it. You can't even find them. They're just and they're like in this dimension and then they're in another dimension.
Mm.
I did
Mm.
not want to risk breaking that connection with them.
Crazy.
So there was a point where I was in a state of bliss and in a state of panic at the same time, because I was in such joy doing what I love. Here I am being with the dolphins. And then I was panicked because the other side of my brain was the logical side was thinking, oh my God, I'm farther out to sea. I'm drifting away. Wait, I don't even know where the boat is. And yeah, panic.
And then what happened?
Well, if you ever, I had a mask, fin, and snorkel, so my head was in the water, and I'm looking and if you ever had that, if you ever panicked while having a snorkel, it's like you're hyperventilating, right? You're like,
Yeah.
and just like, so I literally had a full body panic attack, like, sweating, panicking, and I started thinking about my kids and my family and am I going to die out here?
Mm.
And so through that panic attack, all of a sudden I started seeing visions of my life. And I started seeing points where I let fear hold me back from being authentic, from speaking my truth, from taking risks, from, not experiencing. So all these different experiences popped up in my consciousness and like, oh yeah, there. And I'm feel with the help of the dolphins, I just got to this place where I said, the heck with it, screw it. If I'm gonna die, if this is how I am meant to die out here in the ocean with the dolphins, then so be it. And soon as I said that, and as soon as I came to that place, this immense calm came over me. And this peace, and I felt this weight lifted off me. And I finally felt ready to look at where the boat was and say, okay, I'm going to check and see where I am in the ocean, in this vast, vast ocean. So I finally come up to the surface. Now you're in the water. Right? You don't know which direction is north, south, east, west. You're just like all over the place. And I come out of the water and I look to my left, and the boat was 20 feet away from me.
Wow.
And, you know, I didn't understand how that could happen because I was swimming in the water for quite a long time. I finally get up on the boat and I'm like shaking and still broken up. And this woman said that I saw you with the dolphins and you went out to sea and they turned you around and they brought you back to the boat.
Beautiful. Yeah. Beautiful.
And when that happened, it made me realize, like, all those things, like, what are we worried about? Really? I mean, it's like God has this in its hand. We're secure, we're safe, we're protected. And just to surrender and trust. And from that moment, my whole life had shifted. I came into being more my true self, speaking my truth and speaking up. And that's when I decided to quit teaching and come into the healing arts. I first learned Reiki, and then through Reiki connected again with the dolphins, or dolphins started showing up in my Reiki sessions, and then opened a healing center. So it was a huge transformation for me, a huge shift.
What were you teaching before?
I was teaching high school math.
Okay.
I was
So, because I,
so talk about the
you
engineering. I had that too.
yeah,
And I actually started off as an electrical engineer.
very
I
cool.
went to school.
So in other words, you still are teaching instead of math, you're teaching grace, but you're still teaching.
Yes. Yes, I'm still teaching. Yes, I come from a family of teachers where it's just who we are. And
Yeah,
yeah.
and I think when we honor the skill or the gift that we come in with, we may change from math to grace, but the skill is always there. And for us to honor it and reframe it so it becomes a positive as opposed to a, I wish I could get out of this energy.
Right. And I
And,
think, you know, when I look back at my life, like everything in my life was preparing me for this journey that I am on now. I feel like I'm more authentic than I've ever been. I'm more true to who I really am. And I'm able to embrace that.
So today I was having lunch with a friend of mine, a young lady, and the word Kuleana came up. I brought it up.
Yes.
You being living in Hawaii, do you want to share what that means to you, Kuleana? Because I shared it with her. She had
Yes. Yeah.
before.
Well, the Kuleana, you know, that's your truth. You know, the Kuleana is, you know, your gifts. What's your specialty, your I feel like it's your gift, that everyone is born with certain gifts and certain attributes. And the Kuleana is a thing where it's just comes naturally to you. You know, it's effortless.
And that's a one part of it. And the other part
What would you say the other part is?
is that I love that word or that concept put into one word, that when we identify and recognize our gifts or our purpose, we then have both a duty and a responsibility to fulfill that gift or purpose. Without that, we have wasted our journey on the planet.
Yes.
So here you are fulfilling your, well, Kuleana is the fulfillment of that purpose that you're doing. Because you've
It's
actually
funny because you never
taken that out.
feel like you fulfilled it. there's always more to do and more to share or to help.
Jeanne, while you say it, you're saying you've never fulfilled it. You'd be surprised at how many people are too afraid of even starting the journey of fulfillment.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And I think that's, where these kind of podcasts of you talking about raising consciousness is how do we step into that place of fulfilling our kuleana, where we recognize, because we're always given signs. I think most of us are slapped very hard before we wake up to the sign. I certainly was
Right.
you nearly drowned. I kind of nearly shot my brains out. But we wake up. But when we wake up, it's that gift, that grace we're given is in how do we fully embrace that and not say, oh, well, thank goodness I got out of that one. I'm okay now. Let me carry on being this idiot. And
So I want
yeah.
to hear how you found your kuleana and almost, what did you say, shoot your brains out?
So as I said, I have a BSc electrical engineering behind me. And so I was very much in that world. And in my mid-30s is when I came out as a gay man, but I was completely in the closet, living in South Africa at the time, because it was dangerous. It was under apartheid, and I could have been arrested and incarcerated had I come out. So luckily, I didn't have a black skin, so I could at least hide that. Whereas apartheid, different color of skin, get into trouble. So I managed to hide it until there's a certain point where one needs to be authentic. You can't keep on hiding because the inner spirit just keeps on wanting to break free, come through, because this is who we are. And so that led to an incredible, ungraceful performance in this large corporation I was the director of. And so basically, they had to fire me for being an idiot, for being an asshole. And that was a bit of an ego dent. But in that, I really felt sorry for myself. And that was because I defined myself by the success at age 35 in the corporate world and everything that stood for and all the material trappings that came with, which are quite substantial at the time. But it was all taken away, all gone. Everything just disappeared in the space of a week, 2 weeks. But then a business associate from the US reached out and said, what the heck's going on here? And he initiated, let's say, a correction from that termination from the corporation, because it was actually unfair dismissal, basically. I didn't even know what that meant at the time. And so from that moment is when my spiritual journey really began, because everything I dreamt of, which was having my own business with a highly professional team by the coast, that all just manifested. And I had a choice then. I could either give the middle finger to the corporate company, which fired me and said, look, I can do this without you, go and stick it. But something said, Nigel, no, that's not the right way of doing it. Something far, far bigger than you or you could ever dream of manifested here because you asked for it, but you had to be got out of your way for this to be able to happen. And I was constantly in my way. My ego was in my way. My fear of coming out was in my way. The fear of judgment, the fear of being criticized by others, the fear of being possibly incarcerated was completely in the way the whole time. So that had to be shredded right down. And it was, when I say that's my only option then was to go bang, but even that didn't have the courage for that. Had South Africa had the same gun culture at the time as the US has today, that would have been a lot easier. But gun was locked away in a safe in another part of the country, so that wasn't going to happen. So that's kind of how that happened. So I was so much gratitude and so much humility because my clients, I had several very, very large clients would phone and say, what the heck's going on here? We have the relationship. Get yourself together and get your business running. We need to keep this going. And so from absolutely nowhere, this whole business was built up, become the most successful business in South Africa in its market sector, which I then sold 4 years later to move to Australia, which really set me up for life, basically. And I was 39 years old when I did that. So the message in that is when I got out of my way, the fear, well, in that case, I was ripped out of my way and a big slap of spirit. But through so much gratitude and humility, is that when you have nothing left to lose, you have absolutely everything to gain. And we built up, business partner and I built up a fabulous organization, which went and sold. And it was an amazing journey. It was just 4 years of building a company and then selling it. And
Wow.
I always
So
say to people,
that sometimes you gotta reach rock bottom.
the nadir, dark night of the soul.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the dark night of the soul. And I say to people in business, and including this person today, is don't go chasing the dollars, because that is coming from a position of lack, of scarcity. If I have to go chasing money, it means I don't believe there's enough money to go around. I need to chase it. Come from a position of service, of gratitude, humility, and service. And from that, the light will shine through you, and people will be attracted to that and drawn to that. And I had no idea about any of this stuff at the time, of course. This is all new stuff to me. But somehow that's what happened. And a friend of mine, she kind of was watching me through this and said, okay, you're now ready. I said, for what? You're coming to a spiritualist church with me. Let's go. And that was my sort of opening to all of that. And so because of spiritualism, the company was successful, not despite it, because I then adopted those principles into the company. And the clients had no idea why they liked working with us. They just knew it was a cool place to work.
Yeah.
I didn't go around on a crusade, on a spiritual crusade, evangelizing, not at all. But I went on a crusade to give the best service I could possibly give. And they felt absolutely honored by that. And they felt totally seen and totally heard and totally present in what we were doing for them.
I was just going to say that one of the things that seemed to set you apart from other people that I've worked with and everything else is that your ability to be so present with what is, and not have an agenda or okay, we're going to do this, or have something in your mind. You're just so present with whatever's showing up. Were you always like that, or when did that shift occur?
You must be kidding me. No, I was a complete idiot until about age 35, when this crisis happened. It was all about me, look at me, look at me. And I would say in those days, thank goodness, I didn't end up in the medical path, getting diagnosed with anything. But had I been diagnosed, would probably been manic depressive, would have been called in those days, or what do they call it now? Bipolar, I think it's called now, or something like that. But thank goodness I was too arrogant and too afraid to go and have myself checked out in case I get discovered I'm gay. That's how terrified I was. That internalized homophobia was absolutely rampant. And a lot of suicides happen in these conservative cultures because of that. So luckily I didn't go through that. Instead, I went through what Stanislav Grof would call from spiritual emergency to spiritual emergence. So when the why at the end of emergency was, through that process, understood the why was I spirit within such crisis, such emergency? With that clarity, with that awareness, I could remove the why and have to go through emergence. And in the spiritual emergence is when I recognize there is no separation between anything, you, me, the teacup, the plant. There's no separation. So the only way to be in that is to be totally present. And it just became...
What got you to that place of being totally present?
Being grateful that I was alive. That the beauty of being alive, yeah, that I was actually still alive, and that what others thought of me actually was not important.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, they actually couldn't give a damn. I was the one who was panicking. My internalized homophobia was so crazy. No one really cared except me. And I realized the talk and the discomfort and the pain and the suffering is all in here.
Mm-hmm.
Get that out of the way, and it just is beauty.
Yeah, it is a matter of seeing beauty everywhere.
Yeah.
When I came out of that dolphin experience and I saw all the beauty around, what I saw were all these boxes that I had placed myself in.
Yeah.
You know, like I have to do this, like I have to have this job, and I have to do this, and you know, I saw those boxes fall away. and infinite possibilities. To me, that's what the dolphins bring.
So what do those boxes represent?
Restrictions, like, you have to live within this content. You have to, my job has to look like this. My income has to look like that. It's like the American dream of the White House with the picket fence and the 2.5 kids and the dog. This is how your life needs to look. And, I didn't want to fall into that.
Well,
That didn't fit me at all.
well, I don't think any of us wants to fall into that. I think we just are taken there without our even knowing it as youth. And that's part of the work I do around that whole path to freedom model in my book. And that is we've dropped into this place of conformance and compliance without even knowing it. We need to do it as children, as babies, in order to survive. If I don't conform to feeding time, I might just die. So we learn conformance and compliance as a survival mechanism. But then that, I think, gets totally manipulated to serve others and no longer serve our own needs, but serve others' needs. And that's fear-based conformance and compliance, fear-based manipulation. And we end up in that place, trapped, what I call the matrix. We're too scared to do anything about it because we actually believe that if we don't conform, we're going to get arrested or we're going to get rejected or something's going to happen. Look what happened the last 4 years in planet Earth. Okay.
No, I was definitely a nonconformist in the last 4 years on so many levels.
But look how the
It's
whole...
like, I'm not buying into this.
But look at the grand experiment and how many people bought into it.
Yeah.
Probably most are still unaware they've bought into something. They think this is all for their own good. But a lot of people are waking up quite rapidly now thinking, this doesn't resonate so much anymore. Things aren't so cool, but they don't know why. And with time, hopefully enough will wake up and say, I want my freedom. This conformance compliance isn't working. So the point of that is that access, the other side of conformance compliance, instead of being fear-based, takes courage to break out of that.
Yes.
And most of us don't have the courage, so it takes spirit to slap us, to either nearly drown us or get us to feel really sorry for ourselves. Right. And so it becomes that sort of courage. But that access there, I call society's expectations of us. Society expects us to have the picket fence and a nice house and the 2 kids and the dog and the cat and everything else. And the work I do is say, how do we become ambivalent to that, but a healthy ambivalence? Not a screw you ambivalence, but healthy ambivalence, saying, you know what, if I've got that, I'm going to enjoy it because I enjoy it, not because I'm told it's the right thing to have. If I don't have that because it's not what I want, well, that's also okay. Not because someone says it's a good thing to have. How do we reach that place of healthy ambivalence and follow what spirit says is right for the individual, for us?
Well, the thing is, and some of the work I do is like allowing people to understand that they have choices. Like, people don't even understand they have a choice. You have choice, you have freedom of will, you have freedom, to choose how you want to live your life and how it looks. And that infinite possibility component is, it could look this way, it could look that way. It doesn't have to look like this one narrow focused way that you're imagining. And then the one thing that they hook you is you think that, okay, I'm going to have all that and then I'll be happy.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I'm working hard, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm doing everything right that I'm supposed to do. How come I'm still not happy?
So the concept of freedom of choice, or bringing it into people's awareness, what precedes that would be, I'm feeling this unhappy, or I'm feeling trapped, or I'm feeling suffocated. There must be something better. And that freedom of choice overlays that. Well, there is something better. What would better look like for you? Well, this, and that. So what's stopping you?
Right.
and and it sounds really simple. And like this lunchtime conversation today, it sounds very simple, but there's so much conditioning and so much baggage and so much fear-based stuff going on there, but doesn't even people don't even know they're living in fear.
Right. Yeah, when I was swimming with the dolphins and I had seen all these different parts of my life, I realized how much I was living a fear-based life.
Right. Because
And
I was, that's why I nearly blew my brains out. I was terrified of what will people think of me. I'm going to be rejected by family, by friends, by my company, blah, blah, blah. So I created this whole drama, and it was a fulfilling prophecy. Yes, I was rejected by a bunch of things, but that was all my own doing of creating this drama. And no one else really cared. All they wanted me to do is behave myself and get on and do a good job.
but you didn't die. You're still here. Yeah, you survived. You
Well,
went
it's an
through
interesting
it.
point that
You
I think
announced.
in that, and you will identify with this, a big part of us actually does die in those moments. It's that part which holds us in place of fear, that part which prevents us from moving forward. In those moments, that part dies. So that death to me is a wonderful death.
So do you think when people fear death, it is that part, that fear that they're fearing more than that type of death than
You know,
actual, like what we imagine death to be?
yeah, I think it's the fear of the unknown, and that is different for virtually everyone, how they define the unknown.
Yeah.
I think it's more the fear of the unknown, and that's part of the whole Toltec teachings around that. And they think the unknown is unknowable, whereas the more one gets into this kind of work, the more one claims that consciousness and goes on that path, the unknown, or what we think is the unknowable, becomes known more and more. And in that and that I think is the goal of this kind of work, is to find that place of peace, because fear is only of the unknown. Otherwise, why fear it? If we know it, we can make a choice.
Mm-hmm.
So people start getting a concept of death, or concept of what happens life after death, if they believe that, or whatever they believe, they can deal with that, prepare for it.
Yeah, I heard Zach, the famous
Like
Dr. Zach, yeah, talk about many times he's been, well, both times, whether he's there at a birth and he
Mm.
looks into the eye of the child. Did you hear this quote?
Yeah, it's beautiful. That's the whole monologue he did at the end of one of the interviews he did.
Yes. And
Incredible.
then
Dr. Zach
the
Bush.
other one is when people die and come back,
Mm.
and how in their eyes he could sense that there is such peace and so much love and joy and presence in that moment, because they've come from the unknown, if you will, and
Mm.
they're not afraid of it.
And what I also have seen enough of, so I've kind of accepted, is that we can have multiple incarnations in this one physical vehicle, one after the other. That in the old days would incarnate, and maybe the body would survive, what, 30, 25, 30, 35 years, then be killed off or eaten or stabbed or something in the old days. But with modern hygiene and the miracle of modern medicine, which does have its purpose, these things stay around for a lot longer now, which is quite handy. So, and also with the veils between this world and the higher vibrational frequency worlds collapsing, we're able to do our work a lot quicker if we step out of fear. We can access those realms a lot faster. And so therefore we can do that work we came in to do, the incarnation, really quite quickly now. And then we have a choice. Once we fulfill that life's purpose, that incarnation of healing, whatever it is, or healing family, feeling family codes, contracts, and so on, we can then choose, I'm done. I want to die. I'm out of here. I've done that in case I get run over by a car or drowned or something. Or we can say, hey, I'm ready because my body is still healthy. I still have a lot of living to do ahead of me. I'm enjoying swimming and going to the parties and so on. I'm going to come and do another cycle of this. And I'm seeing people having several cycles within the same physical being and doing a second time around. It's so much cooler because we don't have to go through the birth stuff and being a child, having to learn all the codes again and have to learn all the rules. We know what they are. And we get so much wiser, and we can actually do this work so much quicker. And so I'm really excited where we are, in that we can actually claim that. It's there to be claimed. Of course, claiming that is a threat to those who want to keep us in the dark. And that's the challenge we have. We have to claim it and say, screw them. And so, yeah, so I've been around this probably 2 or 3 times now. And it's, say my background's engineering. That was my first time around. You asked me anything what I learned at school. I haven't got a clue. That life's gone. It's shut down. It literally has gone away. So the past life and so on. And then people say, oh, it's just your memory's failing you. Well, maybe, but I have other wisdom now, which who would have never have thought about when I was at college. So what does that come from? And so on. So I'm kind of seeing it like that we can actually have this gift
Oh, that's
of
beautiful.
and embrace modern medicine. And a lot of people poo-poo it only because it's been weaponized against us, a lot of it. But if we can be more discerning how we embrace it, we can really
Right.
we can embrace natural remedies and modern medicine.
Oh, yeah. I believe in traditional and holistic medicine for sure. I mean, you don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. You
Yeah.
want to keep the information. The difference is that the discernment of when to, you still kind of have to be your own doctor, in the sense that, they'll just prescribe medication and you have to check in with your body, because nobody knows your body better than you do.
Yeah.
And does this resonate, or is this dosage too high, or, how is this feeling in my body? And, not just take things blindly.
So,
And
when you say you have to be your own doctor, what you're referring to here?
all you. But there's a little disclaimer, I am not a medical doctor. I am not giving medical advice in any
Exactly.
way, shape, or form. I'm making suggestions only, check with your physician. But it's
My disclaimer is you have to at all times take personal responsibility and do not hand your power over to anyone, regardless of who they are or how many titles they've got or how many white coats they wear. Always take personal responsibility.
yes, yes, absolutely. And there's benefits to both. And so for sure you want to take that on. I don't mind living many lifetimes in this body, but I want to
You,
be
you at least
healthy.
had two, you know that.
I've had what?
You at least had two.
At least 2, yes, probably
Like
more.
that. Yeah.
Yes. And just going through if I am going to advance, I don't mind reverse aging. I'm totally game for that. And yeah, I want to go through this process and this journey feeling healthy and revitalized and energetic, and having all the energy what one would think of as a 20-year-old. No reason why we can't.
Yeah, and it's great that, because I think, when one comes in with a second or third time round, you're coming in with that beautiful, young, vibrant energy again, spiritual energy. And the body is going to respond. It'll
Yes.
support it. If it needs to support it, because that's the soul contract, it'll respond. It'll make sure you get through this one as well.
I find, and when I do the work that I do, the Reiki, the energy healing, the dolphin energetics in the ocean, whatever, however it shows up, or, via Zoom, or that it energizes me as well. I'm
Absolutely.
totally getting the benefit as well, because the energy is moving through me
Yeah,
onto the client. And so yeah, it's not draining when I'm doing it. It's definitely
absolutely.
energizing.
Yeah, and it's like that. When you're on purpose, everything is a gift.
Yeah.
It's no longer work.
So what would you say some of the benefits of spiritual work are? Either receiving or giving, just whatever comes to mind. I want to talk about the benefits and then some of the challenges. Because there's a lot of people in our community that are spiritual healers and on their journey. Some of them are starting out, some have been there for a while.
To me, the greatest benefit is inner peace. Is being in a place, as that last scene of the first Matrix movie. I always love that. It's learning how to be in the world, but not of the world. In other words, fully embracing everything this world has to offer, not going to hibernation and running away because I'm afraid. Fully embracing it, but not taking it on. Just watching it and watching this whole movie play out and watching this whole pantomime in many cases and watching the richness and the beauty and some of the ugliness and being absolutely in the world, but not taking it on as not of the world. And I find myself, I love people watching because of that and just watching the play going on and also figuring out where these people from. Most people are not from planet Earth. And it's wonderful trying to identify, looking at them beyond this mask, the skin we wear, this layer we stuck on ourselves. And that's fascinating. Some of the challenges there, biggest challenge is to stop believing we are what other people say we are.
Yeah.
So to me, it's labels. Yeah, the label. So to me, it's not about what do we need to learn on a spiritual path. It's about what do we need to unlearn on a spiritual path. We already are spirit. We can't learn to be spirit. We already are spirit. There's nothing to learn. What we have to unlearn is this fear-based human layer put onto us. We have to unlearn that. The rest is already there. It's unavoidable. It's not you can't say, oh, if I don't do my spiritual work, then I'm going to be nothing. That's impossible. That doesn't make any sense. You already are it. I have to unlearn the fear-based human stuff and just pull that off there. So this can now emerge because it's already there. There's nothing, I don't have to do anything for it except take responsibility, personal responsibility for all this other layers and layers and layers of stuff I put onto myself.
It's so interesting. So I play pickleball. Cool. I love it. And so I was over there playing, and there's actually a guy from South Africa.
Right.
That was my partner. And we were playing against two women. And these women were good. We've been playing for a while. And so there's a thing when you get to the net, or what's called the kitchen, you can smash the ball if the ball is high. So this guy's a really good player. His name is Peter. He's a really good player. And when this woman, Tori, was smashing the ball at him, I mean, it's a wiffle ball. It's not like a hard softball that's coming at you. It's a wiffle ball. It could hit you. But he would cower from her and, miss the shot. And I know him to be a really good player. And I'm like, Peter, what's going on? Why are you backing off? And, it was just interesting. And it played out a couple of times. And then the light bulb went on for him. And he said that he was triggered. This event was triggering a childhood memory of his, because in South Africa, makes me wonder about South Africa. But anyway, he was in South Africa. He would get beat once a week, at least, by his dad, like beaten once a week. I don't know what the circumstances, we can go into that.
Right.
And just playing pickleball and seeing that ball come at him, he just, like, all of this came up for him. And it was still, now this guy was older than I was, probably in his 70s, still
and that's very real
trauma of his childhood upbringing in South Africa, and was still dealing with it and still triggered by this event. Now, the funny thing is, so once he kind of acknowledged that, and then he was telling the girls, and it was like trying to make him feel bad, I don't think it succeeded, but we were just sharing. Once he acknowledged that and said that that was what was going on with him, the fear subsided and he was able to play and we won the next game. But it was really fascinating to me.
Those charges are absolutely real.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because what's happened in the last couple of years has triggered old ancestral energies I carry from Nazi Germany, from against my family. My grandfather was Jewish. So the Holocaust and all this vaccination, I shouldn't say that word on this channel, but the protocols just triggered this absolutely imposing control. You will do this. And the population we just had was like just overwhelming for everyone. And so everyone just kind of complied. And it actually brought up all that ancestral trauma for me, which I was carrying from my family, not my own direct life, from my family's life.
So that came up for you, or you said someone named Carrie?
No, what it came up for me because we were trying to do some energy clearing. In fact, this morning around that, I was holding a charge, and we said, "What is this charge?" We went through a whole process, and it came up. I was carrying that charge from my ancestors, from my grandfather and his family, my mum's side, my mum.
Mm-hmm.
It sits in. So we carry these charges with us.
Yeah.
So not just of this life, not just our own, but we carry the ancestral lines as well.
Mm-hmm.
And the beauty of this stuff is that when we know it, we can clear it. When we identify it, we can. But again, I'm like a broken record here. Unless we take responsibility for doing it, it's not going to happen. Unless we're prepared to say, this has triggered me, I need someone to support me. I can't clear it myself, although I do this work with clients, but I can't do it inside myself. I need other people to support me. So, but we have to step into that. So it's why the helping profession, we have a lot of helpers around us with our own helping profession and healing profession. So that was an interesting one today, just for me, bringing that up. And it wasn't all, and whilst I was raised in South Africa, I wasn't born there, but I was raised there. For me, it was ancestral, was my parents, my mother's side of the family stuff was triggered through what happened the last 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, no, it doesn't matter, whether it's your childhood, past life, that stuff is still there. And that's what I call the deep diving, where we go into the subpsyche and get to the core issue of what is coming up and what is triggering and why it's triggering. But
so do you find in your work that it's like the onion, the layers of the onion, and what will be presented, I just took my own work, what's presented to me and clients is the thick outer layer. And the guides will say to me, you're going to work with that and nothing else at this stage, because that is where the biggest issue to deal with. Once that's dealt with, the client will then choose, they've got free will, of course, personal responsibility again, whether they want to go any deeper or deeper. But it's kind of layer by layer gets pulled off. And only as much as the client can deal with, otherwise becomes new traumas are developed. And you find the same kind of thing, that you tap into the sort of most pressing issue to set them free, so they can then either choose to say, thank you, that was fabulous, I'm out of here, or let's do more.
Well, it comes, I do find that life will show you where you need to go. Well, circumstances will bring things up and will direct you, and you have a choice again, whether you're going to look at it or you're going to ignore it. And then life will bring it up in some different way. And then
Marie, on that one, how many people do you think are able to actually even go there, because the trauma is there, because our psyche protects us from trauma. That's what it does. They'll know something's not right, but
our ego
whatever it is,
keeping us safe all the time.
Yeah, play it safe. So I find when people say things aren't working, I'm not sure why they're not working. I just feel really this or that, or something triggered me, like on, you say, in the game, but haven't got a clue what that was, which is why I think in these kind of professions that you and I are in, is we have to create the space and the vehicle and the vessel really for allow people to go in there safely and explore it in a safe way with no judgment and without any constraints in that. Because I'm fine when people come to me, they actually don't know why they're being triggered. They know something's triggering them,
Right.
but they, my daughter said this to me and it really, really annoyed the hell out of me. I said, well, okay, under normal circumstances, that really wouldn't be a trigger. Let's have a look. But that's for them, that's the trigger and that's it. But underneath there's all the stuff. But the psyche, say, is protecting them.
Well, I think what's interesting is that we both have this engineering background. And as having this engineering background or this inquisitive mind, like even with this guy, like I know him, like why are you acting this way? What is it, why would you be afraid? Why are you afraid of this wiffle ball that's coming at you? I mean, of course, yeah, there's a bit of a fear, but like dramatically acting in a way that is like, whoa, brought to my attention. And it's like, so because your mind and because we have this inquisitive mind, we are going to ask the questions, or we're going to go delve deeper into, all right, we know that there's something here where maybe anybody else would just blow it off, or oh, he's having a bad day or whatever, where we're not like that. We're like, wait, why? We were always asking why. Why is this happening? Why are you reacting this way? Why? And the more you ask that why, and this could be with a spiritual teacher or on their own, the answer will come. The answer will present itself. You keep asking through meditation, through guidance, through assistance, through healings. The answer will come. The answers will come. And as maybe we don't want to hear what those answers are, so we'll block that. And that's when you need definitely somebody to guide you through that. But yeah.
Yeah, and what triggered me and got me into this process, and I'll share, it wasn't being slammed with a shuttlecock, what you call it, a woofer or something. I was actually in a dentist chair having, and it was the drill and just having a crown removed, and it just went crazy. And I became so stressed out that the dentist gave me the maximum allowable anesthetic, and I actually became resistant to it. My whole face and body was numb, but not the tooth. It actually said, you totally become resistant. I said, I'm getting up and walking out. And that was completely irrational behavior from what she's seen, what I've been through before. Said, okay, this is not okay. There's something else going on here. So I took responsibility to find out what the heck was behind that behavior. That was the journey I went on. And that's when all this came up, these trigger points, what's happened the last 2 or 3 years in our culture, our society, and it just comes up. So, I think, as you said before, we are constantly doing our work. It's never over.
No.
So that was great work. A great practitioner, but it's sitting there saying, okay, how do I take responsibility for that and overcome that fear-based behavior? And that was ancestral, wasn't even my own.
Yeah, I mean, definitely it was, in the time of Hitler and else, they did do dental torture, if you will.
Well, it wasn't around even
Maybe
dental
that
torture,
was,
but that was just a trigger point for the whole Holocaust, which
yeah,
deep in my family, that side of it. So I don't want to go into that now. It's not the time for it. But
yeah.
that trauma sits there, and that triggered that trauma, which was triggered by the events of the last 2 or 3 years here we're going through.
Well, it
So
just shows
it's
you
like really interesting.
there's no coincidence,
Mm-mm.
and obviously this is coming up now for you because you are ready to clear it. You're
Right.
in that place of, you've done the work, whatever it is, and you're ready to release that
But
energy.
on that, so we're having this conversation on that. My mother passed away 2 years ago, and the clearing today was releasing her and her family from the trauma they were carrying, which was put onto me. was actually able to clear them. So this work, as you know, goes beyond just self. It goes into other lines.
Absolutely.
That
Well, that's
was,
because we're all connected,
yeah,
especially
yeah,
ancestral connections.
yeah.
Yes.
And, so going back to the work you're doing with the dolphin work and the unconditional love one receives from the dolphins and whales, and how that opens that heart center in that space. And in that open heart center is when that whole connection takes place.
Yeah. For me, it's all about the heart.
Mm.
That's all of our journey, is just to get back to the heart.
Yeah.
If we can all be in our heart space, oh my God, what a world this would be.
Yeah. And isn't that the goal?
Absolutely. Yes.
So
So
anything
thank you, Nigel, for your work and what you're doing. And can you share with everyone how they can reach you and connect with you?
Yeah, probably the old-fashioned way, which is the website. And it's nigelbpatterson.com. Put the B in there, otherwise it goes somewhere else. Nigel B. Patterson. And the work I do is partly what I've explained here, on helping clear people through a formalized processes, because I've got an engineering mind. It seems to work quite well. And then also clearing negative energies, especially from external entities, which have attached themselves to people and causing, in many cases, significant problems for individuals. Almost call it possession if you want to, in a way, but it's kind of more subtle possession. And those are really the two main things I do. I am also the author of that book, Return to Freedom. Say it's rediscovering who you really are. That's on Amazon. So Return to Freedom, Nigel B. Patterson, it'll come up there. That book and that work was channeled when I was living in Hawaii on the Big Island at the place of refuge. The kahunas brought that through. And that was published in 2018. And I had no idea why. They just said, shut up, do it. Okay. And it's far, far more relevant today, having gone through this whole COVID crisis and the collective crisis the planet's gone through and humanity's gone through, that what they brought through the guides then just makes so much sense today. I thought, wow, okay, that book was written for now, not even back then. So that's
You
what
were ahead of your time.
that looks like. Yeah, well, they were ahead of the time in pushing me to do this. And so that's kind of what I do. And I do it through Zoom or in person or in the astral or whatever. It doesn't really matter, whatever's appropriate. I've been doing a lot of clearing in the astral, especially last year before last. A lot of clearing took place in the astral of some of the nasty stuff happening around us. Again, another conversation. So I'd wake up absolutely exhausted in the mornings until eventually I asked the guides, show me what is going on. And they showed me, and it wasn't nice what we're involved in. I know I'd been trained for this from South African days. I know I'd been, and I never knew when I'd be using it. And I wasn't even aware I was using it until I said enough. So they gave me a break for about a month, and they said, nope, back into service. So I think we put into service as we need to be. Sometimes we don't know it, other times we do know it. It's just when we surrender, as you said earlier on, surrender to God's will, surrender to what Spirit has in store for us, surrender to what we chose to come in with, our kuleana.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for your time and your energy and your vibration. And we'll have to have you back. Sounds like there's a lot more we could be talking about. We'll get an update. And yeah, we'll see you on Level Up with Jeanne Marie.
Thank you. And thank you for everything you do, and keep up your beautiful work.
Thank you.
Aloha.
Aloha.
Gotcha.